time to talk about my favorite superhero from the Marvel Universe. That's right, Spider Man. How's it going, everybody? Shaun Allen here. Welcome back for another episode of the Comic Corner. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon to get notifications as to when a new video gets posted onto this channel. So this video is the start of a brand new series for the Comic Corner. I know, the Comic Corner is a series in and of itself. I mean, it's a series within a series, okay? So I hope it makes sense. If you want to learn more about how I came up with this series, be sure to watch the previous episode because that's where I explain it better. So, let's suit up and get ready to take a look at the spectacular adventures of the Amazing Spider Man. Spider Man almost didn't happen. In fact, it took a lot of persuasion from comic book writer Stan Lee to get his idea of the web-swinging hero onto the pages. He wrote the stories, while artist Steve Ditko would draw the characters. What's interesting to note is that comic book writer and artist Jack Kirby wasn't at all impressed with the story. However, he did create the cover of the first Amazing Spider-Man issue and Amazing Fantasy number 15. Peter Parker, a bookworm Midtown High School student, lived with his aunt and uncle. He had a hard time making friends, even though he was a grade A student. One day, he visited the science hall to see a few experiments. During one experiment, a spider accidentally obtained a large amount of radioactivity and bit Peter on the hand. It wasn't long before he gained special abilities, including sticking to walls, incredible strength, and a sixth sense known as his spider sense. He originally wanted to use his powers as a way to get some cash and even impress a few fans. However, that all changed with the death of his Uncle Ben. After capturing his uncle's murderer, he officially became the Amazing Spider-Man. The reason why he became Spidey is because of something he was told. With great power comes great responsibility. Now, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Spider-Man is one of my favorite Marvel characters, and his costume is pretty cool. It has mostly stayed the same throughout the last several years, with a few variations. In the recent PS4 game, they gave him his original suit, however, they add a little bit of white to it, which I thought at first was a little much, but eventually I grew to like it. Now, since we're talking about media, we can't forget about his TV and movie appearances. He's got numerous cartoon spin-offs and several movies with Columbia Pictures, Sony, and Marvel Studios. Personally, I've always liked the Tobey Maguire films. Andrew Garfield did alright, and Tom Holland, he's been doing a good job. Alright, now that we've seen the hero, it's time to meet a few villains. Let me point out that Spider-Man has dozens of enemies, and I'm only going to be showing you a small handful in this video. Why? Well, the main reason is because I only have a certain number of villains that are Spider-Man villains in my collection, so there's going to be some left out. Like, I'll give you an example. The Lizard, Kraven the Hunter, Sandman. But don't worry, we got some of the really big name ones, so you're going to be fine. Don't worry, we got some good ones in here. In issue 2 of The Amazing Spider-Man, we are introduced to Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture. He has no powers, but he created an electromagnetic harness which gave him the ability to fly. It is said that he can reach speeds up to 95 miles per hour. Plus, it gave him extra strength, agility, and endurance. He appeared in numerous comics because there are a few vultures out there from alternate realities. In the next issue, we are introduced to Otto Octavius, also known as Dr. Octopus. Former nuclear scientist turned criminal, Doc Ock has 4 extra appendages. He suffered a brain injury which caused him to mentally gain control of the mechanical arms, even if they were separated from his body. He is so powerful and a good leader that he helped form the Sinister Six in the 72 pages annual for Amazing Spider-Man. The Sinister Six included himself, Kraven the Hunter, the Sandman, Electro, the Vulture, and Mysterio. Now, this version of Dr. Octopus isn't from Marvel Legends. It's an interesting toy where you can squirt water out of the tentacles. I know, it's a little weird, but cool. If I'm not mistaken, this version is from the Ultimate Spider Man comics. Our next villain is very electrifying. I'm talking about Electro. Maxwell Dillon, a rather difficult to work with electric lineman, was actually helping a man off a line when a lightning bolt struck him and the line he was on. And that's basically how he got his powers. Oh, and by the way, don't go outside and start playing with electrical cords or even the electrical wires on the telephone poles. It's very dangerous. He can gain power by simply connecting to anything that is electric, but he can be easily stopped by being short-circuited by throwing water on him. So he tends to be one of the less powerful villains who can be easily defeated. However, he can be so powerful that he can electrocute someone to death. Now it's time for a little mystery and suspense. Coming in from issue 13, here is Mysterio. Quentin Beck, a special effects artist, uses his abilities to create illusions to trick his enemies, including Spider-Man. Personally, he's my second favorite Spider-Man villain. In his first issue, he decided to disguise himself as Spider-Man. Bad move, dude. This particular version of Mysterio is from Spider-Man Far From Home. Honestly, I really liked how they stayed true to the original costume. This next villain is probably considered one of the most famous villains that Spider-Man has ever fought. I'm talking about the Green Goblin. He was introduced in issue 14. Originally, his identity was a secret. Later, we find out that his name is Norman Osborn, CEO of Oscorp. After taking a serum that wasn't completed, he went insane along with gaining super strength, fast reflexes, and stamina. He created a special glider that he can use along with other gadgets that the Goblin can use, including his famous pumpkin bomb. Sad story, but his son Harry, Peter's best friend, becomes the second Green Goblin after his father is killed. Thinking that Spider-Man murdered his father, he sought revenge. In order for him to become the Goblin, he took the exact same formula that his father injected into his own system, and unfortunately, it took a toll on Harry, and unfortunately he died due to the effects of the serum. Before we move on, I had to show this. While I was filming this video, I miraculously found my movie version of the Green Goblin's glider. I had to get these two together in a shot. Pretty cool, and a good find. And now it's time for a battle between two very different arachnids. In issue 20, it's Spider-Man versus the Scorpion. Here's a villain that we never saw coming. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about this. So, during this whole time, up to this point in the comic series, he's been taking photos of himself, Peter as Spider-Man, for a newspaper company owned by J. Jonah Jameson called the Daily Bugle. It's basically his way for him to get cash to help pay for the bills, pay for textbooks, lab equipment, even pay for his Aunt May's medicine. However, his boss literally hates Spider-Man's guts. So much so that he hires a thug and a scientist to come up with a suit/solution that could potentially end Spider-Man. MacDonald, or Mac Gargan, took the formula and gained abilities like speed and strength from a scorpion. The suit he's given has a mechanical tail which he can control. He can use it as a battering ram. It even has a toxic stinger, just like a scorpion. Much like the Green Goblin, he is perfectly fine for a little bit, but then loses sanity. Spider-Man is able to defeat him, but barely. Very quickly, let's look at the RHINO. Another super powerful villain, he charges into the Spider-Man comics in issue 41. Due to intense radiation and chemical treatments, he is given a suit which gives him his RHINO appearance. He's much like Juggernaut, but he's not a mutant. He does have similar abilities like super strength. Just don't cross his path when he's charging. Now, Spider-Man's suit would remain unchanged until 1984 when Secret Wars started. On a different planet, his costume got damaged in a fight, so he designs a new one using black goo. His new Spidey suit was all black with a white spider symbol on his chest and back. His webbing would come out of the top of his hands instead of his wrists. Later on, he would discover that his costume was actually a form of symbiote. Later, in the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 252, he comes back to Earth still wearing the black costume. In an interesting twist, the symbiote seemed to care a lot about Peter. Even when he was asleep, it would take control of his own body and fight crime. Peter, still sleeping, was along for the ride. It wasn't until after visiting with the Fantastic Four that Peter started to realize that the symbiote was trying to bond with him. He tries every means to remove the suit. Eventually he does at a church by ringing the bells in the tower. It separates and leaves Peter. Feeling pain and rejected, the symbiote decided to look for a new host. Enter Eddie Brock. Now, Peter and Eddie have had interactions in the past, both good and bad. well, mostly bad. In fact, Eddie blames Spider-Man for his downfall and seek revenge. The symbiote finds and connects with Eddie, and they become Venom. Probably the most recognized and maybe the #1 arch nemesis of Spidey. He has the exact same look as the black Spider-Man costume, only instead of a plain black mask, he has a monster of a head. One problem that Peter faces is that Eddie now knows he's Spider-Man and that his spider sense doesn't react to Venom. Plus, Venom has all of his powers. Now, I can't mention Venom without talking about his movie portrayals. Honestly, I thought the solo film was pretty interesting. Definitely violent and a little scary. His first appearance in Spider-Man 3, could have been better. But it was still cool to see him on the big screen. Hopefully Spider-Man will be able to fight Venom in an upcoming sequel. Rumors are that that is the plan, but we will see. Now, if you thought one symbiote was enough, how about two? When Eddie was eventually sent to prison, the Venom symbiote was sent to rescue and free him. While this happened, a piece of the suit was left with another cellmate named Cletus Cassidy, a very dangerous criminal. Once this piece of the suit bonded with Cassidy, Carnage was born. Carnage is twice as deadly as Venom. However, one host wasn't enough. He would bond with several individuals and have numerous incarnations. Throughout the comic's history, there were several different symbiotes created, including one called ANTI-VENOM, which was bonded with Flash Thompson, a bully of Peter's from high school. I know, interesting, right? But believe it or not, there were a bunch of other characters, including heroes and villains, that got their own personal symbiotes. Later on down the road here on the Comic Corner, we will be looking at a much darker version of the Marvel Universe, known as the Venomverse. Before we conclude, we must briefly mention about Spider-Man's team-ups. Literally in his first issue, he meets the Fantastic Four. He was hoping to join them, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. Although, it did happen in an issue of What If? So in the alternate universe, he does. Let's not forget that he's also had numerous battles with Doctor Doom, the Fantastic Four's arch-enemy. Later on down the road, he teams up with the Man Without Fear himself, the criminal defense lawyer, Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. Now, Spider-Man has been hunted down by Kraven the Hunter on multiple occasions, but how about being hunted by the Punisher? Yeah, I personally wouldn't like that. Oh yes, he's even had a few run-ins with the Incredible Hulk, whether it was with the Avengers or personally. Now, I don't believe in superstition, but I don't want to cross paths with the Black Cat. She can be a bit of a troublemaker. Now this is Silver Sable. She has a bit of a rocky history, but has worked with Spidey on occasion. And that is it. That is our look at the spectacular adventures of the Amazing Spider-Man. I know this video was a bit long, but hey, it was worth it. So on that note, thank you so much for watching the video, everybody. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button. It is greatly appreciated. By the way, you may notice that my shirt changed in this episode. Yes, from this red one to the black one and then back to this one. I hope you guys like the shirts. I actually got them from a comic book shop at Universal City Walk called Things from Another World. It's not a sponsorship or anything, but I'm just giving them a shout out. So if you're there in City Walk, stop by, because it's a really cool place. Hey, if you guys are interested in more videos, check out my other channels, the Educational Series, the Design Video Series, and the Travel Town Series. You can find me on Instagram. The link is down below in the description of this video, as well as my P.O. Box address. And by the way, if you haven't seen any of the episodes of the Comic Corner, check out the playlist link in the description box. Alright, thank you so much for watching. In scene, as I say in Hollywood, still not in Hollywood, I'm at home, at the Comic Corner. That, my friends, is a wrap. See you next time. Whew, wow. Now, who should I talk about in the next episode? You know what? I talked about my favorite character. How about my dad's? Yeah. The Man Without Fear. I like it. Daredevil's next.